Your Eminence, Reverend Fathers, Presbyteres, and brothers and sisters in Christ, Christos Anesti. At the beginning of this school year, I put an icon of St. Nicholas in my school locker. After my dad was diagnosed with cancer, I have prayed to St. Nicholas, his patron saint, every day. When I open my locker, I am reminded to stay strong in my faith. But when my friends see this image of an old man with a white beard, they cannot but ask why I look up to saints if they don't exist today. What they don't recognize is that saints still exist today. They are living and breathing beings, not simply people who lived thousands of years ago. And now, more than ever, modern saints have strengthened our church and her followers. Today's faithful are faced with problems that are different than previous Orthodox Christians. St. Nectarios of Egina exemplifies a modern spiritual guide who teaches us how to face modern problems in our society. A society that thrives on continuous distraction from God's presence. St. Nectarios was surrounded by these distractions. However, in his Akathist, we see that St. Nectarios maintained his childlike innocence even as he transitioned from his home into the world. He was able to do this through the guidance of his family and the teachings of the Holy Fathers. St. Nectarios tells us to seek God daily, but seek him in your heart, not outside it. Only then can we begin to resist the pollution of the world. Along with providing answers to our modern-day problems, today's saints connect people throughout the history of a 2,000-year-old church. While the teachings of the church have not changed, the world has. Oftentimes, it is hard to relate to the church in a meaningful way. Having lived through the 20th century, St. Sophrony is all too familiar with the modern spiritual warfare Orthodox Christians face every day. Today's war is a different war than the one early Orthodox Christians fought. While they face the threat of persecution under pagan empires, we face social persecution under pagan societies. In school, the workplace, social media, and pop culture, we are conditioned to live a life distant from God. How can we attain salvation when the very world we live in thrives on breaking our relationship with God? St. Sophrony reminds us that in order to reach salvation, we must return to the basics of the church, the holy mysteries. In the book, Remember Thy First Love, St. Sophrony says, the divine liturgy is the way we know God and the way God knows us. All the faithful who attend the divine liturgy, regardless of which century, experience the same divine sacrament. St. Sophrony explains the divine liturgy is a timeless connection, one that unites us today with Orthodox Christians thousands of years ago. I was always encouraged to learn from the saints. But to me, their stories were set in a different world than the one I live in, and they were as relatable as Gandalf from Lord of the Rings. St. Katharina, St. Alexios, St. Nicholas, and even my patron saint, St. Anastasia, experienced problems noticeably different than my own. But learning about the saints of the present day made me realize that they are much more relatable than I first thought. Both St. Sophrony and St. Nectarios have helped me connect to my faith on a deeper level. Not only can I begin to understand our centuries-year-old faith through simply attending the divine liturgy, but I'm also given guidance to overcome today's problems. The path to salvation is narrow, but with the modern saints guiding us, it is more bearable. Modern saints remind us that it is possible to attain theosis, where it is no longer we who live in Christ, but Christ who lives in us. Galatians 2:20. The relationship we seek with God, a relationship of our mind, body, and soul, is attainable. The modern-day saints show this to us. In today's spiritual war, God has granted us, these modern saints, as heroes. Since the beginning of the school year in January, I added a new icon to my locker, St. Nectarios. After looking for strength through modern saints, I found that St. Nectarios is the patron saint of cancer. This ever-spreading modern illness affects many families, but we receive comfort and strength from modern spiritual guides like St. Nectarios. Through St. Nectarios and all the other modern saints, we are guided in taking the first steps to become closer to God. And, as Saint Seraphim of Sarov said, acquire the spirit of peace, and 1,000 will be saved. Thank you.